at the offerings. What will we do?" But the owl was closer than he thought. "Everyone must contribute what they can," the owl spoke with conviction, and Tornado was most frightfully startled to hear the voice of the fox agreeing close by. "We will all help the children of Adam. Their offerings should be included," the buck gently advised. "Very well for you, but some of those very feathers—" Mrs. Sparrow couldn't finish, and Mr. Sparrow had to comfort her, for neither could bring themselves to speak of loved ones lost. "Certainly you could not mean to exclude us," the hawk spoke so closely Tornado felt faint. The young rabbit wished to excuse himself and leave them alone to discuss their strong opinions, but it was the protection of the buck's body towering above him that gave Tornado the courage to remain. Complaints and accusations were exchanged, and it wasn't until the buck stomped his loud warning that the animals were finally quieted. "Tornado," the great buck said soberly, "Adam was told that the day that he would eat of the tree of good and evil he would surely die, and since that day we have all surely met with death. My own flesh may be on Adam's table come hunting season, but it is Adam's children who pray for that garden where the lion will lay down with the lamb." Mr. Sparrow listened, and when he could, he darted past the hawk to the ground beside Tornado. "What they say is true, Tornado," the brave little bird insisted. "Every sparrow and hawk, every bird and beast shares but one common enemy." Tornado now saw that those he loved and those he feared would one day rejoice together, for together they longed for the return of the lamb. "I understand," the little bunny whispered. The night before Lamb's Day, the weather was peaceful, and the moon was bright, but Tornado lay in his burrow with the painful thought of having nothing to bring to the garden. Finally, just before dawn, as if something had been whispered in his soft bunny ear, Tornado remembered the thorn bush, and he hurried out to the meadow to gather bits of the thorn bush from places it had blown and lodged during the winter. On his last trip, while he tugged at a strand that had snagged on the fence, he heard a low growl. Tornado's heart raced, thinking of the dog's teeth close beside him. But when the dog spoke, his voice was kind. "The ewe has sent me to ask you to pray, for this is her hour." The fear of the dog was nothing compared to this new fear. "Is she in danger? Run! You must protect her!" When the dog turned slowly away, Tornado was all the more perplexed. "Why did you not eat me?" Tornado frightfully accused him. "Do your habits change?" he tearfully demanded. At this the dog looked with sympathy at the exhausted rabbit. "I am a dog. I know when loyalty is required." Tornado was too tired to understand, and at that moment it was hard for him to believe the simple creatures of the wood could really be capable of helping Adam. Wearily he hopped to the garden by the tool shed, and leaving the last strand of thorns on his offering pile, he went to his burrow to pray for the ewe. Soon it was morning, and poor Tornado was fast asleep, but at the house the children of Adam were almost ready. "Is it really Easter?" little sister asked. "Yes, and our cousins are coming, our friends from church and grandfather," the older girl explained as she buttoned her little sister's dress and watched her big brother search his jacket for his memory verse. "Sweetheart," his mother called to him, "please go to the garden and get some flowers for the table." When the boy abandoned his search for the Bible verse and went to look for the vase, he discovered bags of Easter candy hidden in the cupboard. "Could I hide these while I'm out there?" he whispered so his little sisters couldn't hear. Mother stopped what she was doing. "I thought you liked to find them. Wouldn't it spoil your fun?" "That's fine," Dad interrupted, handing him the bags. "You sure are growing up." "Yes," Mother agreed doubtfully, "but don't forget the flowers, and don't mess up your clothes." The boy ran to the garden. He hid pretty eggs, jelly beans, and chocolates in all the usual places, and he was also quite clever to hide them in some unusual spots as well, and he even remembered the flowers. The boy felt for his pocket knife to cut the stems, but he had forgotten he wore his Sunday trousers, and all he found was a balled-up slip of paper. His memory verse. Now when he read it for the very first time, he was embarrassed that he had complained and pestered his grandfather for his short verse. "Only 3 words?" the boy whispered as he thought of grandfather's disappointment. He was ashamed when he looked at the candy bags now crumpled and empty, and thought of how he always hated to waste time with Bible verses when enticing treats were hidden everywhere. As he stood there in the quiet of the garden, a fragrant breeze blew through the fresh growth of clover, and the son of Adam knew he wanted the children to remember the real meaning of Easter, even more than finding chocolate eggs. The boy wondered what he could do, but there was the sound of Mother talking to his sisters coming from the house, and the thought of her waiting for the flowers. The graceful tulips snapped off easily at the stem, so he went straight to gathering an armful, and all the while he kept thinking about 3 simple words: "Behold the Lamb." When he stooped to pick a few of the daffodils, he noticed a pile of soft, downy fur. It was most puzzling, and as he began to pick a few snow-white snapdragons, he came upon a pile of nuts and one of feathers. He had no way of knowing these were the offerings of the forest families, but he did know that these little heaps of nature would be just the thing to surprise the children. Mr. and Mrs. Sparrow watched from above as the son of Adam jumbled their twigs among feathers, and feathers among nuts, until all the offering piles were in great disarray. As an artist with many colors, the gallant boy began to write his memory verse in lovely colors on the ground. He formed a bee of the downy fluff the rabbit family so lovingly left for the ewes' return. He added many mosses and delicate flowers, and then he formed 2 more letters before he made the O, which was the letter he was particularly proud of, for it was a lovely wreath of springtime. He heard his sisters calling from the house, but he stayed longer until he fashioned the L. For the D, he used only feathers and twigs, for he had run out of flowers. Then, with 2 words left, the son of Adam regretted he had used up all the tiny violets and most of the beautiful colors from the piles. The calls from the house began again in anxious tones, and now he knew there was not enough time to finish. The boy sighed as he sat a moment looking at his work. Once more there was a gentle breeze, and along with it, a wonderful inspiration. Just 1 word. Behold, could say it all, the boy thought. He had not intended to use the ugly heap of thorns he had noticed among the piles, but now his entire plan depended upon them. He took apart the lovely wreath that formed the O, and quickly reused the vibrant colors to dress up the plainer letters. Now he gingerly picked up one of the scraggly branches from Tornado's pile, for his difficult task was to form a crown of thorns. His fingers were pricked and scratched as he bent the stubborn branches into arches. The hands of the gallant boy were sore when he heard his father's loud whistle, but he was happy as he quickly brushed them on his Sunday pants. He would have hurried off then, but just as he was about to leave, he stopped. Observing him across the path was a handsome young rabbit. "Tornado?" the gallant boy whispered, wondering if it could really be the same rabbit he'd returned to the garden. But poor Tornado only loped slowly away, desperately sad to see the offering piles ruined, and to know the ewe had never come. If only the rabbit had stayed a moment longer, he would have seen the faithful dog and his friend appear. But it was the forest animals who watched, as the ewe brought her sweet offering to be there among the ruins of their own. The boy found Grandfather in the library with his little sister on his lap, begging to be read a book about the Easter Bunny. "Grandfather," the boy exclaimed excitedly, "I have a surprise in the garden. Please come and see." At this moment, company began to arrive, and as usual, the children were impatient to hurry to the garden for the Easter egg hunt. The children's shouts and cheerful chatter came closer and closer, and all the creatures of the woods were waiting, all except Tornado, who wept in the shadows. There were chirping sounds and flutterings, and a sweet smell of flowers. Some creatures waited in the bushes, and others hid in the leafy branches, but all the animals of the woodland waited to see if the children of Adam would remember the real meaning of the day. The gallant boy ran ahead of the others. "Behold the lamb," he breathed in amazement, for a wonderful sight awaited him. It was a tiny lamb, his pure white wool glowing bright in the dazzling radiance of the sun. The other children hurried into the garden, thinking of nothing but candy eggs and Easter bunnies, until there, in the soft grasses, among the flowery letters fashioned from the offerings, they saw him too. Indeed, it was the thorns that made the message clear, for near the gentle, innocent lamb, the crown's pale, sharp thorns spoke clearly of the sacrifice. Aware of the sudden quiet, Tornado opened his sad bunny eyes, and before he had time to wonder, he heard the words his heart longed for. "Behold the lamb," the amazed children whispered. Tornado lifted his soft bunny chin. "Behold the lamb," young and old declared, and each time was fresh as the first, for the children of Adam spoke with awe and from the heart. Tornado came out of hiding, and bold as anything, he hopped past the crown of thorns that at one time had been his special hiding place. And as a soft breeze lifted the fragrance of spring, Tornado's brown nose touched the soft new lamb. A few of the children pointed. "Look," they whispered, and the rabbit's joy overflowed when the children said, "A rabbit has come to behold the lamb." The ew's first lamb, pure white and sweet as his mother, had caused the children of Adam to remember. The faithful dog spoke to Tornado in a low growl. A dream to right that which is wrong in the world of men is a noble dream for any creature, but especially a small one, especially a rabbit. Then, from deep in the wood, came the buck's stern warning, and Tornado fled for the safety of the thicket, because the creatures of the wood fear Adam, and indeed creature fears creature, until the lamb's wonderful return, and the promise fulfilled, the lion will lay down with the lamb.